Today, I try to tackle one of the most complicated subjects I've ever spoken about: aliens or demons. There's a lot that's been going on in the last few years with governments and military releasing classified information. UFOs are real, aliens are real. We've seen in the news in the last few months that there was villagers in South America fighting for their lives against an alien invader in the jungles of South America. They're screaming, if you've seen that video. And then there was the event that happened in Las Vegas where people swore they saw a 9-foot tall alien creature. And today I'm going to get into what I think is really happening, that it's not aliens the way you guys think or the way you've been preconditioned all these years. For the last 40, 50 years, we've been seeing movies, War of the Worlds, E.T., the extraterrestrial, and all these alien movies, Star Trek, and all this other stuff. But I'm going to show you a very compelling argument for those of you that believe in God. If you don't believe in God, you'll find this episode very interesting. You might see a different perspective. And I don't claim that I'm right, because only God has all knowledge. This is a theory of mine, which I draw from the Abrahamic faiths, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And I am going to attempt to tell you why I think all of a sudden they're letting us know that aliens are real, UFOs are real, and that there may be a massive event coming in the future, but it will not be what they tell you. I believe the greatest deception humanity has ever seen is on the horizon, very near to us. And that in our lifetime we will see things that boggle our mind, make us question everything we've ever learned or thought about God or the universe. But I don't believe it's alien life the way they are telling us. I actually believe it's demonic. It's a demonic attack on humanity. I'm going to show you the origins of a lot of this, where it came from, and how I think science today has found a way to create a portal between dimensions to allow the demonic realm into our dimension. I'm going to make references, and I ask that you investigate further. I'm going to give you a very condensed version of the people I think that are involved, where it started, where it is right now, and where it can possibly be going. I ask you to understand that I'm only human. I can make mistakes. I can be wrong. Only God is perfect, and you should always question the source of your information. I don't claim to be the smartest person in the world. Some of you may find me to be out of my mind when you watch this. But this is just one of my theories of why they are declassifying, showing us videos. Like, why all out of the blue now? Like, why all of a sudden now you guys want to tell us what's behind the curtain? No. We've been preconditioned to believe in these ET-like films and alien life and the Anunnaki, when it's nothing more than demonic manipulation and an assault on humanity. Aliens or demons? I'll make my argument now, so stay tuned. Please subscribe below. I have tons of content. I interview amazing people, but let's get back to what I'm talking about now. Are they coming soon? Are the aliens, quote unquote, coming for us soon? Well, it sure seems like that, the way things are being released in the news. We all saw the video that they had of in Mexico where, there was these two alien things displayed. They looked like, honestly, they looked like cigar ash, and they looked like E.T. And this was all over the news. And it was in Mexico City, if you guys remember. And these are the images. It looks like E.T., but all grayed and ash. And it says, a tiny body of a specimen. The Mexican journalist and UFO enthusiast Jamie Masson says it's not related to any known earthly species, which he presented along with others. And we saw all these images. So I just want to give an example of what's being released right now. What's also mind-boggling is that a lot of us weren't even phased. Like, you would think the fact that we just saw a government and all these scientists saying, yeah, these are aliens, you think there would have been like a lot more people talking about. I have one person text me or call me, like, did you hear about the aliens? Like, it's like that's how desensitized we have become from their preconditioning. So, are they coming soon? Yeah, but not the way they're telling you. We all have these images in our mind of how aliens look. There's these tall gray or green creatures that are kind of skinny but tall, and they have these massive eyes that look like insects almost. But I think it's nothing more than a demonic manipulation. We know societies like the Freemasons, the Illuminati, were all obsessed with Solomon, the prophet. And as you can see in the images that I'm displaying of Freemasonry, you can see the two pillars which symbolize the Solomon's temple, and I'm going to get into that a little bit. The obsession that the occult had with Solomon and why they had an obsession with him and what this has to do with aliens, I'm going to connect the dots. The checkered floors that a lot of the rituals are done, and all the music videos and all the performances you see that have become so satanic on television, on MTV, why they're always done on checkered boards, is because of the crossing of two dimensions, the dimension of light and the dimension of darkness. We are the dimension of light and the satanic dimension of darkness, the demonic dimension. Again, you can see more of this throughout history. George Washington paintings, he's in between the two pillars of Solomon, the prophet in the religions of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. He's holding, Masonic symbols, and he's standing between the two pillars, which always symbolizes Solomon's temple. We're going to get into the most evil human being that ever lived in America and the father of the occult in the United States of America, of which his friends, all his famous celebrities, Walt Disney, Jack Parsons. This man is known as Aleister Crowley, and he was a public Satanist. And I will explain what this has to do with aliens. And the crazy rituals of black magic and summoning demons to help him do his bidding. And so many artists and celebrities have continued in the tradition of Aleister Crowley. And we're going to get into this painting of that Aleister Crowley made with his own hands of a demon that he summoned in one of his rituals that looks exactly like they want us to think an alien looks like. Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons, Ron L. Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, very strange religion that believes that there's aliens and volcanoes that basically created humanity. Werner von Braun, the Nazi scientist that was brought to the U.S., all members of this strange cult led by Aleister Crowley. They did all types of weird rituals and black magic, and that's actually how we got to space. This is not even a weird theory I'm making. Like this part is true, guys. And I'm going to go into some of that. Like, we went to space because of these people that worship the devil openly. It's all in history. You can read the life story of Jack Parsons, pull it up, read the life story of Aleister Crowley and Walt Disney, and see how they were all connected, which later led on to Hollywood. Reality is stranger than fiction, I promise you. Again, hit the subscribe button, and now I'm going to get into the deep dive here of why I believe humanity is under demonic attack, and it will be disguised as alien. We've all heard the theories of Project Bluebeam and all this other stuff. I don't think it's going to be staged with holograms. I think we're actually going to see these aliens with our own eyes. I believe there's a chance we might even see our dead family members in front of our eyes, speaking and everything, but it's not them. It's actually demons that have shapeshifted, a terminology people use in the alien world, but they forget that the demonic world has that power. In the Abrahamic tradition, we have a species known as the demons. That's in English. But it's not true to the whole species. Before God created the world, we were not the first creation of God that had free will. As a matter of fact, there was a species known in Arabic as the jinn, or where they will get the word genie from, which is what the Muslim tradition and the Middle Eastern tradition, even the Jewish tradition, uses to define the demonic realm, the species of the devil. In the Abrahamic faiths, it says that God made us from clay, from the earth, and that Adam, the first human being, had all the different types of earth in his construction, which is why if you look at human beings, we really are the colors of the earth. Some are like the color of sand, some are like the color of the red clay, like the Native Americans, and some are, like the deep, dark, rich earth that we plant food in, and so on and so forth. But before he made Adam, God made a species known as the jinn. This is the demonic realm. They are described as creatures that are made from a smokeless flame. Some think maybe it's electric. We don't know, but we know they're made from a smokeless fire. We can't really see them in this world, but we know that they have the power to shapeshift. We know they have the power to travel at the speed of light. We know they have the power to influence thought into the hearts of humanity. Like when you see the angel and the devil, like in the cartoons, that type of power to inspire thought, or what some people would call telepathy. Believing jinn would be just as, but the thing that people understand, the word in English for demon means like just all evil. In the Islamic faith, the jinn are a species of free will. They're much like human beings in the fact that some of them are good, some of them are bad. The ones that are aligned with the devil, Satan, he has many armies and legions. They are the jinn that chose to declare war on us human beings. The good jinn are broken up just like we are, Christians, Jewish, they stay away from us and they don't really try to interfere in our world. When people do black magic, they summon this dimension. Now, they live on this earth, but they're in a parallel dimension. They have cities, they have longer lifespans than us. Some of the scholars believe they could live up to 5,000 years, 7,000 years. No one really knows for sure. But they are not like human beings in that aspect. They have different powers, different capabilities. And I'm going to show you where I get this information from. We know that when humanity was in its beginning, the first murder was committed by Cain when he killed his own brother, Abel, the children of Adam. And he went away from the area that Adam's children were all living in, and he went and started his own community after he killed his brother and stole his wife. During that time period, the devil, as described in the Islamic or the Muslim faith, shapeshifted into a man and taught Cain how to play music. That was actually the first time the demonic realm really interfered in innovation and teaching human beings things that they did not know how to do, that God didn't teach them, for example. And the whole weekend thing has actually been going on since the beginning of time. Because once a week, the children of Cain in his community, they would get together and play music and dance. And then the other children of Adam would get curious and they would come down from the mountaintop where they were staying, which they were forbidden to do by Adam before he passed away. And they were curious because they were hearing the sounds and they saw them dancing. And then they commingled, and this is kind of how everyone got good and bad in them. Now, if you think that the story of Adam and Eve is funny, science today says that from DNA searches that all human beings have one common ancestor. You can do the homework, look it up. I don't want to get sidetracked. I want to get back to the whole alien demon theory. But we know from this story, and the reason I'm telling you is that the devil, Satan, Iblis as he's known in Arabic, was able to shapeshift into a human being and teach the children of Cain how to play music and instruments. The jinn have free will just like humans, and there's a big group of them that are aligned with the devil that have declared war on us since before we were even created by God, and he blew the spirit into us. This war has been going on for a long time. Throughout the course of the world, God sent messengers and prophets and books down to humanity, but we went astray. We changed those messages, and we didn't listen to our Creator, which is why we're in the mess that we're in now. I'll take a verse from the Quran, verse 102 in chapter 2 of which is the cow. They followed what the devils recited regarding Solomon's kingship. Solomon did not reject, but it was the devils that rejected by teaching people magic. And what was sent down on the two angels in Babylon, Harut and Marut, they would not teach anyone until they would say, we are a test, so do not be unappreciative. Thus they teach that which can separate a person from his mate, but they cannot harm anyone except by God's permission. They learn what harms them and does not benefit them. And they have known that he who purchases such a thing has no place in the hereafter. Miserable indeed is what they traded themselves with, if they only knew. In a nutshell, during this time period, it is believed, during Babylon, that when Solomon was around, they were starting to perform witchcraft, that they actually learned the arts, but they had to sell their soul to get the knowledge. And by selling their soul, they were given knowledge that they shouldn't have and powers that they shouldn't have. The obsession of the occult with Solomon is what I'm explaining now. In the Quran, chapter 27, Solomon asked, O chiefs, the chiefs of the jinn, the obsession the occult had with Solomon and the Freemasons and the Illuminati and all this other stuff is that every prophet had a superpower. Moses had the power of the rod, and his hand would glow as bright as the sun. And it was through God's power, through that rod, that he parted the Red Sea. And Joseph, peace be upon all these prophets and messengers that I mentioned, Joseph had the power to interpret dreams. And every prophet had a superpower. Jesus walked on water, the Messiah, and brought people back from the dead by God's permission. And these are the superpowers of a lot of the prophets. But what was Solomon's power? Solomon was given a kingdom and a rule and an authority that no other man or woman ever had before him or ever will have after him, although there are others that are trying to get that power. Solomon, peace be upon him, had the power to speak even to ants, to communicate to every living species on earth. And by the way, science is showing that ants are a lot more complicated than we thought, the way they communicate. He spoke to the ants. He could speak to lions, tigers, and bears. Oh my, he could command them and they'd obey. But it wasn't just what he had control over in this dimension. He had the power to control the demonic realm, and that demonic realm did whatever he commanded them to do. They had no choice. They had to obey him. In the Quran, it says here, Solomon in chapter 27, verse 38, O chiefs, which of you can bring me her throne before they come to me in full submission? One mighty jinn responded, I can bring it to you before you rise from this council of yours, and I am quite strong and trustworthy for this task. Then, in verse 40 of chapter 27, but the one who had knowledge of the scripture said, I can bring it to you in the blink of an eye. The jinn is telling Solomon, this demon is telling Solomon, in the blink of an eye, I'm going to bring you this throne. The throne was for the Queen of Sheba. She was an ancient queen that ruled over what's today Ethiopia. And she was worshiping the sun instead of God, and Solomon was trying to bring her to the path of the one God, the God of Abraham, which Christians, Muslims, and Jews all believe in. And he wanted this demon to bring her throne, which was a massive throne, by the way. It wasn't like some little chair like I'm seeing. It was a throne that was very heavy and very far away. Solomon wanted the demon to bring her throne so that when he sent emissaries to call this queen to meet with him, by the time she got to Solomon, her throne was waiting for her. And when she saw this miracle, she ended up embracing the one God and leaving her pagan worship of the sun. But what I want you to pull from these teachings and these stories, which are in these three religions that I mentioned, is that this demon was able, in the blink of an eye, to bring a massive throne, a very large material object, through space and time instantly. We know from the scriptures that these demons can shapeshift, They can travel at the speed of light, and that Solomon had power over them. This is where the obsession and the conspiracies come from. When they went under Solomon's temple, supposedly the Knights of Templar, they found some of these ancient manuscripts. They learned how to do some of this black magic. And they've been cooperating with the demonic realm ever since. That's where this all comes from. What does this have to do with aliens? Let's fast forward a little bit. There's a man that you need to know. If you do not understand who this man was, you know nothing about the world we live in and how much of an impact he had on society and everything. This man's name is Aleister Crowley. He was born in 1875. He died in 1947. He was from England. He is someone as a self-proclaimed prophet. He indulged in black magic. He went to the ancient pyramid of Giza, where he was contacted by these gods, as he called them. He didn't call them aliens. He called them gods, lords. And he wrote all these satanic books. He emulated Pharaoh, who's the most hated person in all three religions by God. A very sick and twisted individual. You should read about his life. So many people followed him and messed around with his stuff. David Bowie, the Beatles have him on the cover of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The cover, he's on there. Okay? A lot of these singers, these famous, rock and roll artists, and this has not stopped since this guy came. They're all connected to this guy. These rituals and all this crazy shit, this is the guy. But what's interesting is, here's a picture of him dressed like a warlock, like a witch. Okay, in 1912, he's doing ceremonies, his really demonic paintings. But I want to draw attention to this drawing of a creature named Lam. Lam. So when Aleister Crowley was doing these rituals, he was contacted by a creature named Lam. Lam looks like a gray alien. Long before we ever saw pictures in movies or any of that stuff, there was pictures of this creature. That's his drawing of Lam. And as you can see, the similarities and the way they want us to perceive how aliens look in movies, films, costumes, YouTube. I mean, they look exactly the same. What I believe is happening is that the reason they are declassifying all this information, and I'll get to that in a second, the people that studied under Aleister Crowley is Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons is the reason we went to space. He's the reason satellites made it into our atmosphere. He developed the fuel that would get us there. But if you study his life, as he did all these crazy occult things with ex-Nazis and Aleister Crowley, that they were being contacted and summoned by beings and devils and all kinds of crazy stuff, guys. I don't have time to get into all of it. Please do your homework. Read about his life. He was contacted by a being named Belial Dajjal. Belial Dajjal. Dajjal in Arabic is the word that Muslims use for the antichrist. Christians and Muslims both believe in an antichrist. A being that will come towards the end of time to deceive humanity that he is the savior and that he is God in the human form, so that human beings will worship him instead of God. And that when he comes, the world will be in complete chaos. But he will be the one that saves the world. And then Jesus comes back. Leave that story aside. Jack Parsons used the word for the Antichrist in his own descriptions, in his own books. Read about his life, that he had a dream that this being came to him and said, "You are very important for my work, and I'm going to help you get your rockets up." And that's how he figured out the formula to create rocketry, to get it where it is today. We would not have made it to space or the upper atmosphere without Jack Parsons. Jack Parsons and Aleister Crowley did many rituals, demonic stuff. This is all a fact. You can't make this stuff up. In January 1939, a brother and sister who had befriended Jack and Helen Parsons took Jack to the Church of Thelema on Winona Boulevard in Hollywood, where he witnessed the performance of the Gnostic Mass. Celebrants of the church had included Hollywood actor John Carradine and gay rights activist Harry Hay, etc., etc. They became buddies. They started doing all these crazy rituals. Next thing you know, we're in space. You can't make this shit up. It's real. Okay? Here's an article from supercluster.com, The Occult History Behind NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Okay? It's all here. Jack Parsons was one of the most influential figures in the history of the American space program. He was also a Marxist, a straight communist. Okay? Stood accused of espionage and held a deep fascination with the occult. His interest in the supernatural went far beyond magic and astrology. And you can read about his life, guys. Okay? What I think has happened and where we are now is they have figured out a way with science to create a portal, a stargate, a black hole, whatever you want to call it, a gateway to allow that dimension into our dimension. And now that they're so close, they're preconditioning us to receive these demons not as enemies, but as friends that are more intelligent than us. They're smarter than us. They're here to help us. Or it could be the other way. They're coming to stage an attack. It'll make it look like we're being attacked by aliens with demonic power. And maybe then the Antichrist comes. I don't know. God knows best. But it is an age of deception. You can believe nothing that you see and half of what you hear. And you must be open-minded and you must look deep and you must investigate. Because what is going on is stranger than any book. I truly believe we are in the end of times. We are reaching the final era of humanity before the Antichrist will come. If you're a Muslim or a Christian, you know what time it is. Now, we know that they have created a machine, okay? A machine that is called CERN. CERN is the largest machine in the world. And you can go to their website and you'll see their symbol has 3 sixes, 666. And on their website it says, what is the nature of our universe? What is it made of? This machine accelerates particles at the speed of light. Many believe when these particles collide, they create miniature black holes. Many spiritual people believe that when these black holes open, they're able to observe matter in a different dimension, and that whatever's living on that side might be able to get through to this side. Could you imagine if hypothetically the CERN machine is able to open up into, portals to other dimensions? We know that there's other dimensions. This is a fact of science. You don't even have to believe in God. Every scientist says, yes, there are more dimensions than the one we can see and smell and touch. Like we live in 3, there's maybe up to 11, maybe even more dimensions than that. These demonic beings have lived in a parallel dimension to ours. They're on this earth. They have cities. Some of the scholars in Islam believe the demonic realm, the throne of the devil, is above water. They don't know if it's the Bermuda Triangle or the Devil's Sea, but in the parallel dimension, that is where their throne, his throne, sits. So imagine now the demonic realm is on this earth, but in a parallel dimension. Imagine if they can get into this dimension and they still have their powers and they're able to shapeshift. We know in the religion that these demons follow us our whole lives. They know how they can mimic us, they can talk. Could you imagine if they get through into this world and you see your dead grandfather from 30 years ago and they're telling you there is no God, we've cured death, no one will ever die again. Look, we brought your grandfather back, but it's not your grandfather. It's a demon acting like him. I'm not saying you'll see that for certain, but it's one of my theories. We know these beings can shapeshift. They can travel at the speed of light. They live in a parallel dimension. They can influence thought, and they have brought much innovation to humanity with the human beings that have sold their souls for black magic, for knowledge. They've done rituals, and this is why they have an obsession with Solomon, the Temple of Solomon, and why I think we are getting closer. Before I get into the CERN project, I would like to remind you that the people that we trust, some of the most powerful people in the world, the heads of all the corporations, this is ABC News, July 23rd, 1981, speaking of a place called Bohemian Grove, and what we know from this is that the most powerful people in the world have been gathering together, dressing in cloaks, standing in front of owl statues, performing all kinds of crazy rituals. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat or whatever you are, to see our leaders and the heads of corporations dressing in cloaks like sorcerers, like witches, and performing weird rituals, which was exposed by the guy that I don't care if you believe in all his stuff or if there's a lot of things I don't agree with him about, but he was the only one to get inside this place and get real footage of our politicians, our leaders, our corporate interests, all together in one place, worshiping an owl, doing all kinds of weird shit. Why are they doing that? Ask yourselves that. Here's a clip from 1981 speaking about this place that they gather on the summer solstice to perform rituals.
Now a question. What have Herbert Hoover, Art Linkletter, Jack London, and Richard Nixon all had in common? Well, they've all been members of the exclusive all-male Bohemian Club in California, where every year at this time, the elite from around the country get together for 2.5 weeks of fun and games. Steve Shepard has this special assignment report.
More than 2,000 members of San Francisco's exclusive and all-male Bohemian Club have once again descended on Northern California. These men will spend most of the month of July encamped on some 2,700 acres of pristine and privately owned redwood forest. Forest very much like this. The place is called Bohemian Grove, and it's located just 80 miles north of San Francisco. The Grove is the Bohemian Club's summer retreat, and it...
Now, you never hear about this place, ever. And this guy got in, I won't say his name, but the guy that's always accused of being a kook and they want to throw him under the bus, he penetrated that place in the early 2000s and got video footage of what goes on there. The guy he's about to interview right now is an advisor to 4 presidents. He doesn't deny his membership. He doesn't deny the ritual. It's the most powerful people in the world doing satanic shit. Period.
Years ago where you had a comment about the organization, and then now it's been in the Wall Street Journal, it's been in a lot of different newspapers, and that's the Bohemian Grove. And back in, 1996, when you joined as a Clinton advisor, the Republicans were criticizing you, oh, what about Bohemian Grove? And then you countered them by saying, hey, I don't run around in the woods naked. What did that mean? Here is the before-mentioned Washington Times article where he said, I didn't run around naked like they do.
I don't know what quote you're referring to. I'm not aware of any quote like that. Listen, I am a happy member of the Bohemian Grove. I like the folks who come there, and
this guy's an advisor to like multiple presidents.
About the group beyond that. Thank you.
Have you been there for the ceremony with the cremation of care?
Frankly, I don't think that's something I need to talk to you about.
Really?
That's right.
Well, I'm Alex Jones, and I snuck in there in 2000. I'm the guy that blew it wide open and got the video. It's been on national TV.
Well, I just respect you for that.
You do?
I do.
But it's a lot of big public officials going in there. Don't we deserve to know?
You took I don't know anything about you, and I don't know anything about your film. But if you go in there with an understanding, you violated that understanding by releasing that film, and I don't respect you for that.
Really? But we have public officials.
I'm sorry. You took an understanding when you went in there that you would not do that film. And did you have an understanding when you went in there?
No.
Did you crash it?
Yes.
Yeah, and it has no trespassing signs there too, doesn't it?
No, they put them up after.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just walked in.
I'm sorry, sir. I've been there before. I know what the circumstances are, and I'm sorry you violated the understandings. That was not a gentlemanly thing to do.
But what about the ritual? Is the ritual gentlemanly?
This is real footage of our leaders, our senators, our whoever, the most powerful people in the world. Why are they dressing up like this? Why are they going in front of a stone statue on a summer solstice when pagans worship? They are worshiping the devil, literally. The most powerful people that you guys listen to. Everything they tell you to do, you're like, okay, all right, yes, okay, it must be true. They really care about us. They're doing a great job destroying the world. But destroying it for who? You guys can do your own homework on this. Back to the CERN project. These people have been working with the demonic dimension for thousands of years, since the time of Babylon. That's why they believe they're better than us and they're enlightened and they know things, and most people don't even believe in God anymore. The CERN project was created to, quote unquote, discover new things, discover different dimensions, It's the largest, most powerful machine in the world. Some of the greatest scientists have said this has the potential to destroy the entire universe, Stephen Hawking being one of them. I believe this machine might have the capability to open up portals to parallel dimensions, and these beings, these demons may be coming in, and this might be a part of their plan. This is why they're now releasing all this information. Aliens are real. Okay, we've been desensitized to them, and when we see them, we're going to be like, oh my God, you know? That's what I think is going on, guys. A little bit more about CERN.
It is one of the largest and most respected centers for scientific research worldwide. At CERN, scientists, physicists, and engineers try to unravel the mysteries of our universe and answer the most mind-bending questions in science. They investigate other dimensions, dark matter, and other unproven theories using large and complex scientific instruments you've never seen before. CERN is known for its groundbreaking discoveries like neutral currents, Higgs boson, and the God particle.
This machine is allowing them to see things that we've never been able to see before. It accelerates matter at the speed of light. Miniature Big Bangs are happening. A lot of people believe that when these experiments go on, things are changing. Even our reality might be changing. That's where the whole theory of the Mandela effect comes from. There's a lot that's been going on, and these machines are being built all across the world now. And I think there's one being built in China as we speak. I believe there will be either a staged invasion from the aliens, but it's really demons, or they will come as friends and say, look, we cured death and we're here to save you, and people will take them as gods. If you want to know who the aliens are, just look in the mirror. If you believe in God, you believe in the God of Abraham, you know we fell from paradise. We fell from the garden. We're the aliens. These beings have always been on earth before us. They've been in a parallel dimension, but they were here long before we were. They never liked us. They declared war on us from the day we were created. And their only goal is to deceive humanity, to not believe in the one that created the heavens and the earth, the one that deserves all praise. All glory belongs to God, Allah, creator of the worlds, the heaven and the earth, the one who put life into us. This is my belief. I could be wrong, and God knows best, but this is what you should investigate. And a little bit from one of my Christian brothers, because this is a time where people that believe in God better wake up and remind each other, because we can learn and we can see maybe what's coming before it does.
Something that is happening right now while you're sitting in this auditorium. It's in CERN, Switzerland. Now, you may not be aware of what's going on over there, but there's a thing over there that's called a Large Hadron Collider, and it is an accelerator. It accelerates particles and then brings them to the point of collision. So this Large Hadron Collider was started up just a few days ago, and it's still in the initial process of being brought online completely. You say, what in the world does something like that have to do with me and the Bible? It has a lot to do with you and the Bible. I cannot and will not attempt to speak as a physicist. It would make me look like a fool. My purpose this morning is to try to be a liaison between them and you. Is to try to take what's going on in that collider and break it down to where I can understand it, and I can give it out so you can understand it, to where it makes an application to your life and to this world as we know it today. For what is happening in that collider is an astounding thing. So I want to read something to you this morning from what's called a theoretical physicist. This man, his name is Stephen Hawking. He's well known throughout the world. Anyone that has anything to do with nuclear energy or has anything to do with physics knows this man. And he is one that some rate even on the level of Einstein and of that level. And so I'm going to read to you what this man has to say about what's happening right now in CERN, Switzerland. Listen carefully. These are the words of Stephen Hawking. He recently warned the reactivation in March of CERN's Large Hadron Collider could pose grave dangers to our planet. The ultimate reality, check, we are warned. Hawking has come straight out and said, The God particle, and this is what you've heard referred to time and again as the Higgs boson particle, the God particle found by CERN could destroy the universe. Now let that settle in. This man is an atheist, and he says there is no God. Yet he says that what's happening right now in CERN, Switzerland, and I'll give you what they're trying to do in a moment, what's happening at this very minute in CERN, Switzerland, has the potential to destroy the universe. This is a theoretical physicist. Now, physicists come in all kinds of sizes. Astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson has also sounded the alarm in a hypothetical manner by telling anyone who might want to blow up a planet how to do so is this CERN's attempt to do so by attempting to recreate the Big Bang within a man-made structure. This has frightened Stephen Hawking so much. Do they know that they know that they know what they are doing? Ask yourself, how much energy is keeping it together? Neil deGrasse Tyson told co-host Eugene Merman on his Star Talk radio show, then you put more than that amount of energy into the object, it will explode. Now I think I've got your attention. I've quoted two physicists. These are scientists. These men do not agree with what's happening in CERN, Switzerland right now. There is a 17-mile long accelerator that lies 300 feet beneath the surface of the ground. This area is where France and Switzerland come together. So part of this accelerator is located in France and part of it in Switzerland. It is a joint European project. The United States of America is there as an observer, but the brain power that's going in to this experimentation originates in Europe. They are attempting to recreate what they believe happened that brought all of this into existence as being the Big Bang. Now you and I know from the book of Genesis chapter number 1 that in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. He spoke it into existence. They are finding things, and this is what's important for us to understand today. They are discovering things that they did not expect to discover as they get deeper and deeper into this experimentation and development and research and so forth. They are beginning to find out that there is a whole lot more to the creation than they had ever given thought to before. They're beginning to find out that there's something going on here that boggles the human mind, that literally blows us apart when we try to even comprehend what's happening. This 17-mile long underground tube that is located there in Switzerland has, I think, 4 or 5 different points where they collide with, some say, protons and maybe something else, but particles that are being moved at or above the speed of light inside this collider. Now, for your information, there is one near us in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, but it is not nearly as large as what we're dealing with here. And apparently, the larger the collider, the more speed that they can attain, and the more they're able to get deeper into what they're looking for. They're looking for the very building blocks of what brought all of this together. To give you an analogy, let's say you have a house. You observe that house, it's beautiful. You think, my goodness, let's see how this is put together. And so you start taking the house apart and you expect to find nails, but instead you find glue. That fascinates you that much more because you find glue holding this house together. You wonder to yourself, what was this glue like before its hardened state? Because you see, once the glue glues the things together, it hardens, solidifies. They want to know what the glue was like in its liquid state. So they're going through this to go back to that point to where they can separate and find out what this was like then. And by doing that, of course, they can build on the information and knowledge that they attain. Now, what's going to follow in the message this morning is the implications of what's going on. But let me give you just a little bit of what has been happening. Where they have done this experimentation, strange things are happening, unexpected by the scientist. Paranormal phenomena, they like to call it. Apparitions, ghosts, all kinds of demonic spirits are beginning to manifest themselves in ways. Here we have, in CERN, Switzerland, a huge wheel. Inside that wheel is a Hindu god, and his name is Shiva. He does a dance of destruction inside that wheel, and his purpose is he is one of the triad gods, one of the greatest gods of Hinduism. Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma. Brahma is the god of creation. Vishnu is the god of preservation, but Shiva is the god of destruction. The way the Hindu sees it is that when Shiva destroys, it's not for the purpose of annihilation. He destroys so that Brahma can come and recreate. So now when the Hindu, since they're scientists to CERN, they put this out there in front, and so what these people are doing with the collider is destroying what comes together, but for the purpose of recreating and find out what brought it into existence to begin with. Are you following me? Now here we have men that are scientists on an average of an IQ of anywhere from 160 to 200 or even above. These are some of the smartest brains in all the world. No question about it whatsoever. I pick up physicists and try to read some of this stuff. I think, didn't I? Forget me. That's for a brain that is wired that way. No question. But we were told when Darwin's theory of evolution came out and became vogue, that it would destroy the foundations of Christianity, and this old book that we hold in our hands, this old outdated Bible, would no longer be relevant, and a lot of people bought into it. Because after all, Darwin is scientific.
What you can gather from that is that, why do they have a statue of Shiva there? They do. Look it up. This is all there. They even did some mock sacrifice there, and they said it was a joke, but you shouldn't be joking around like that when you have a machine that could potentially destroy the entire universe, from the greatest scientist that we've known in our time, which was Stephen Hawking. The bottom line is, I believe that they have figured out a way to open up to another dimension. This machine was created to find other dimensions. If you believe in God, you know that there's other living species that God created in other dimensions, and that if they get into this dimension, we're in a lot of trouble. I believe we are entering one of the scariest times humanity has ever faced, and if the Antichrist is rising, this will be the most dangerous time humanity has ever faced, ever. I don't believe in the aliens that they're telling us on TV. I believe these are demonic beings that are cooperating with the people that have been worshiping them forever, still worshiping them now. They collaborate together, and we are entering this final phase.
We fear that the July 7th incident was them succeeding, and that the bottomless pit will open to punish the sins of those who have toyed with powers beyond their understanding. We know that CERN's experiment disrupted the Earth's magnetic field and found more new particles that can be used to transfer matter and potentially open up new interdimensional portals. Whether they were successful in their attempt or not is still unknown.
We may never know what happened on that day, and indeed whether CERN did succeed in opening a portal to another world. The organization has remained incredibly tight-lipped on what actually happened and what experiments they're performing, further fueling the theories that they have indeed opened a portal to another world.
This is how much money YouTube...
And that is my point. I feel like you have to look at the whole picture. Aliens are being told that they exist, they're there, we have their bodies, we see UFOs. We know that demons can fly, shapeshift, travel at the speed of light. They can move material in the blink of an eye. We know that there's science out there to try to open up portals to other dimensions. My theory is they've figured out a way. These elites that worship the devil and his army are going to bring them into this dimension. This is just my theory. God knows best. You better get close to God. You better do your homework. You better investigate the stuff that I'm telling you. This is my opinion and my humblest opinion. I just don't think it is what they're telling us. It's not going to be like the movies. I promise you. Towards the end of time, the greatest lies will be spoken. Believe none of what you hear and half of what you see, and hold on to the rope of God. For the devil is a liar. Those that worship him are just as bad. And the age of deception is here. This is Beck Lover. Stay tuned for more interesting topics, amazing interviews. You just never know what we're going to cover. Subscribe down below. Thanks for checking out. You can also get all my social media at Beck Lover, B-E-K, that's B like boy, E like Edward, K like Kimberly, BeckLover.com. And you can follow me on Instagram at BEKLover, NYC, NYC like New York City, Beck Lover, NYC. Stay tuned to the Beck Lover podcast, where you might just learn a thing or two about life. See you next time. Beck Lover.